Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Astottara Sata Sri Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki. ISKCON's founder Charya Srila Prabhupada Ki. Anant Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki. Namacharya Haridas Thakur Ki. Prem Sakaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyamakun Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki. Mayapur Navadvip Dham Ki. Ganga Mai Ki. Yamuna Mai Ki. Bhakti Devi Ki. Tulsi Maharani Ki. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki. Shri Nrsimhadev Bhagavan Ki. Shri Nrsimha Chaturdasi Mahatsava Ki. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande. Hare Krishna. Good morning and welcome to the first part of the very auspicious celebration of the appearance of Lord Nrsimhadev, Shri Nrsimhadev Chaturdasi Ki. So, of course, this occasion is a very much favorite festival of all the devotees of Krishna, not just within our International Society for Krishna Consciousness, but throughout the world, especially in India. One will find today millions and millions of people celebrating and honoring this day. Lord Nrsimhadev is said to be, of all the incarnations of Krishna, the Dasavatar, the unlimited incarnations actually, together with Lord Ramachandra, Lord Nrsimhadev are the most prominent of all the manifestations of Krishna, possessing most opulences of all the incarnations of Krishna. And this account, the most authorized account of the appearance of Lord Nrsimhadev and the circumstances around which, by which and for which he appeared, is most authoritatively explained and related in the 7th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. We find therein, in the 7th canto, Parikshit Maharaj, who is the main hero, the main recipient of all the topics of the Srimad Bhagavatam, as spoken by Srila Sukadev Goswami, he has a very interesting doubt that has developed during the discussion, during the first 6 cantos. He has a doubt concerning the Lord's impartiality. Now we understand that the Supreme Lord, Krishna, he is the source of everyone. Everyone comes from him. He is the seed-giving father of all the living entities, isn't it? And that includes us, devotees, but that also includes the demons, correct? But yet we find very often Krishna is fighting on behalf of the devotees. He intervenes on the part of the demigods, especially Indra, to save him from the onslaught of the demons. So how can that be seen as impartial? Isn't it? So he has this bit of a doubt. Of course, Krishna also touches on this in the Bhagavad Gita in the 9th chapter. But here it's very elaborately discussed in answer to Parikshit Maharaj's question or need for clarification. And he asks Sukadeva Goswami to please dispel his doubt with evidence to prove that the Lord is neutral and equal to everyone in all respects. So then Sukadeva Goswami, at the start of the 7th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, he then relates a very wonderful discussion between Maharaj Yudhishthir and Narada Muni that took place during the Rajasuya sacrifice just after Shishupal was killed. You all know who Shishupal is, the cousin of Lord Krishna, who had a career-long focus, a lifelong career rather, focused on blaspheming Lord Krishna. And Lord Krishna just kept tolerating, and eventually, in the most amazing situation, Lord Krishna killed Shishupal. But then what happened at that point, as soon as Shishupal was killed, a most astonishing thing happened. Anybody remember? Shishupal was one of the ultimate demons, you know, in the whole account that's there in the Bhagavatam. Narada Muni explains Jai and Vijay and how they took their first birth as Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha, and then as Ravan and Kumbhakarna, and then their third births were Shishupal and Dantavakra. So that's Jai and Vijay, the high-level demons of this creation in this universe. So Shishupal, being such a degraded demon, his life dedicated to blaspheming Krishna, what had happened to him when he was killed by Krishna? His soul merged into the body of the Lord. And Yudhishthir saw this and he was shocked. How can such a demoniac-minded person receive such an amazing result? That he gets Sayujya Mukti, he gets liberation. He merges into the form of Krishna. So like this whole account is then amazingly narrated, and Narada Muni then explains the whole wonderful pastime of Lord Nrsimhadevas appearing to kill the demon Hiranyakashipu and save Prahlad Maharaj. So today is, as our very dear His Holiness Indradyumna Swami always says, today is a double header. It is the divine appearance of Lord Nrsimhadevas, isn't it? Shri Nrsimhadev Bhagavan Ki. But it is also very importantly the disappearance day of Hiranyakashipu. So it's true, you know, we tend to focus on Lord Nrsimhadev's appearance day. But studying and focusing also on Hiranyakashipu is also very, very important, actually. From Hiranyakashipu's behavior, character, his qualities, we can actually learn a lot. And what can be alarming is that we can learn a lot about ourselves. If one really takes a moment of deep introspection and honesty, you'll find, wow, many of these things I can see in myself in the behavior, qualities, and traits of Hiranyakashipu. Of course, Hiranyakashipu, we are given to understand, his very name exemplifies the essence of material existence. Hiranya, anybody know what the word Hiranya means? Gold. And Kashipu means? Huh? Like something comfortable, like a soft bed. And that's the essence of material life, right? Opulence and comfort. And his very name encapsulated that, signified that. So he was the ultimate materialist. Just like Ravana. Anybody know what the name Ravana means? Somebody said it? One who makes the entire universe cry. Makes everyone cry. So we have that trait sometimes in us, isn't it? So when we study the demons, we'll see qualities in us sometimes. How we can hurt people like Ravana did. He existed to make others cry. Hiranyakashipu was all about developing his material existence, the comforts, the opulence, everything was focused on it, developing it, increasing it, protecting it, keeping others away from it. So yeah, if we can study Hiranyakashipu, we can find the traces in ourselves. So this appearance of Lord Nrsimhadev is so important to us, because it also gives us an opportunity to study ourselves in an honest way, in an open-hearted way. On this day we find in the world 99.9% of all the devotees of Lord Nrsimhadev. Why do they approach Lord Nrsimhadev? Why do most people approach and worship Lord Nrsimhadev? For protection, isn't it? Protection from some, like now in the last few days or week, everybody's just dropping, right? With flus and this and that. And I'm sure there must have been many prayers to Lord Nrsimhadev, please keep me healthy, please keep this virus or this bacterial infection away from me. I'm having this difficulty, my business this, my health this, my that. So many issues going on in the world. I wouldn't be surprised if, politicians are worshipping Nrsimhadev. Please protect my party. There was a time where during elections, politicians would come here and do puja. I don't know if some of you may remember. Remember Jai Prabhu? Some people used to come. So we approach the Lord, especially Lord Nrsimhadev, on a myriad of requests. But this day really, just based on our little discussion about Hiranyakashipu, we can find that all these desires and approaches for protection are a very, very distant second purpose. Very distant. It's actually short-changing the real glory of Lord Nrsimhadev. Why should we approach him? If you're approaching Lord Nrsimhadev to give us good health, to protect us from the hijackers and home invaders that will come and steal from us, then that's really not giving Lord Nrsimhadev the ultimate credit for his appearance. Really speaking, it's not. We can understand it in this way, that as devotees, Gaudiya Vaishnavas, the ultimate goal of each of our lives is what? Is to develop love of Radha and Krishna. Specifically where? In Sri Vrindavan Dham. Aradhya Bhagavan Brajesha Tanaya Tad Dhama Vrindavan. That the highest personality that can be worshipped is the son of Maharaj Nanda, Brajesha Tanaya. And the topmost place to worship him is in Sri Vrindavan Dham. And the topmost exemplars of worshipping Krishna, pleasing Krishna, are the gopis of Sri Vrindavan Dham. Ramya Kaschit Upashana Vrajavadu Vargena Ya Kalpita. And the book that teaches us about this topmost goal of life is Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam Pramanamamalam. It is the topmost unparalleled evidence in this regard, and it's teaching us Prema Pumarto Mahan. Srimad Bhagavatam Pramanamamalam Prema Pumarto Mahan. And who is teaching this? Whose opinion is this? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Matamidam Tatradaro na para. This is the topmost conclusion according to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this is the goal of our lives, is to develop unalloyed love of Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan, following in the footsteps of the gopis of Braj as taught in the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is, in a sense, encapsulates our entire philosophy and goal and purpose of life. Is there any mention of Lord Nrsimhadev in there? Where does Lord Nrsimhadev fit in our whole program of devotional service? Yet, we are all here today. We're very eager to come to see Lord Nrsimhadev. There must be a reason for it. There must be a reason. You find in the Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada is so so very clear in one of the purports there, that a devotee does not even divert his attention from Krishna to other forms of Krishna, isn't it? Like Vishnu, like Narayan, like Ramachandra. He says it so clearly. One is simply focused on Krishna. So should we close up shop today on Lord Nrsimhadev and, take... Where does this come from? How do we understand this? So yes, the ultimate goal of our lives is to attain to love of Krishna. This is the ultimate purpose. But to get to that level, one has to be completely pure. Completely pure. One has to become an Amala Bhakta. There has to be no trace of any impurity, any unwanted desire, habits, qualities in the heart. It all has to go, completely has to go. And how do we do that? What is our process for cleansing the heart of all impurities? Anybody? What is our process? Chanting, yes. Chaito Darpana Marjanam. That by the chanting of the holy names, the mirror of the heart, the mirror of the mind is gradually cleansed. Just like you get a window. Oh God. It's pretty clean. When the window is dirty, it's hard to see the sun coming through or to see outside very clearly. But if you wipe it nicely over time, then it becomes clear. Because windows have a very amazing ability to attract dust. Somehow it just sticks and it accumulates. So it becomes, its transparency is lost. Similarly, our consciousness has become so dirty through many, many lifetimes of impressions, of desires, of bad habits, that we cannot see Krishna, that we cannot serve Krishna. We've become very unclean. And therefore the process of chanting Harinam cleanses the heart. But how many of you feel cleansed after a japa session? How many of you feel, yes, my heart is so clean, I can see Krishna, I am transparent? It's difficult, isn't it? It takes life, it takes so many years and years and years. So whenever we have an opportunity to have some assistance, some intervention from some other approach, we are very, very eager. Very, very eager. We need all the help we can get to cleanse the heart. Of course, the main process will always be the chanting of the holy names. But when we can get assistance, especially on a day like this, especially on any day, by approaching Lord Nrsimhadev to assist us. The main purpose of Lord Nrsimhadev in the life of devotees is to rid our hearts of all that is unwanted, to make us more eligible, more confident actually in the chanting of the holy names, and to empower even the chanting of the holy names to cleanse our heart very nicely. To this extent, Prahlad Maharaj, the greatest devotee of Lord Nrsimhadev, he prays in a very wonderful way in the 5th canto. I'll just read the translation. He says, I offer my respectful obeisances to Lord Nrsimhadev, the source of all power. O my Lord, who possesses nails and teeth just like thunderbolts, kindly vanquish our demon-like desires for fruitive activities in this material world. Kindly please appear in our hearts and drive away our ignorance, so that by your mercy we may become fearless in the struggle for existence in this material world. This is what the greatest devotee of Prahlad is praying for. My Lord, your nails, they are like thunderbolts. They are like thunderbolts. Please enter into my heart and rip away at all these things. The Lord did it in a very graphic way, an astonishingly violent way to Hiranyakashipu. The first open heart surgery ever performed, right, was done. He just ripped into it. It's described, he ripped into his heart, took out the heart and threw it away at the end of the room, just flung it out. And the Nrsimha Purana describes. But Hiranyakashipu was still living. I mean, he had that potency. Some time before that, what happened to him? He was living just within his skeletal form, and the life airs were keeping the soul balanced there. There was no description of a heart and lungs. He was just existing. So he was still living. And you know, when any great personality comes, you know, we always offer them a garland, but Hiranyakashipu wasn't really in a position to offer. So the Lord thought, okay, I'll help you. Garlanded himself with intestines. Now you see someone sitting with garlands of intestines, you're going to run the other way, like this person. This is like Chucky 4 or something, you know, the movie coming out or something, right? It's horrible. You're just going to run in the other direction. But despite blood all over his mane, garlanded with intestines, he's still the most attractive personality, because the devotee understands that when we are rid of all these impurities, no matter what the process is, the result is very, very beautiful, very, very attractive. Very attractive. So therefore, a devotee, they understand that even though they may go through painful, purifying situations, and it can be very difficult to tolerate, they will not have it any other way, because this is a stepping stone to a beautiful life, a beautiful existence in service to Krishna. So we'll find from time to time, right? We'll go through difficulties. The Lord will perform some surgery, some tolerating circumstances, but a devotee understands. No, this is wonderful. This is just another expression of Krishna's intervention, Lord Nrsimhadev's intervention in my life. And the devotee will never become resentful. Oh, look at the arrangements the Lord is allowing for me. Look at what He's arranging for me. Look at what He's making me tolerate. Doesn't He know that I do so much? I'm up every day. I come every day for Mangal Arati. I do all this service. And then this person doesn't look at me the right way. No, Lord allows that. The Lord allows that. To help us get one less thing. One less thing to deal with from our hearts. And who is the best expression, example of this ultimate tolerance? Is Prahlad. You know, they say with age comes the ability to tolerate. Do you all really believe that? It becomes harder sometimes. You become more like impatient, more irritable, isn't it? And I know I was really down and out last week, laid out in my bed for hours in the day, sick with whatever it was. And you get so irritable. Like any little thing just like, oh, like freaks you out, isn't it? It just drives you insane, right? Any little thing. But Prahlad, when you think of Prahlad Maharaj, so equipoised. At what age? At 5 years old. It was so embarrassing to consider that, like so embarrassing, that this child. Therefore, it's described by Narada Muni to Yudhisthira that whenever there's topics, whenever there's sages gathering together to discuss devotional topics, invariably the story of Prahlad must be discussed in that association, in that assembly. He is such a famous personality in our history. The most famous personality that's so um, so applicable to us to learn from more than anyone else. Just like I was explaining about our goal of life as Gaudiya Vaishnavas, followers of Lord Chaitanya, is to develop love of Krishna. And we know that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself is the combined form of Radha and Krishna, descended to taste the love of Radharani. Isn't it? Isn't that amazing? This is who Lord Chaitanya is. And one would expect that his whole focus is simply to meditate on Radha and Krishna in the groves of Vrindavan, to listen to Swarup Damodar Goswami and Ramananda Rai discuss all the intimate pastimes that are happening in Vrindavan. But when one reads the Chaitanya Charitamrita, when one reads carefully the Chaitanya Bhagavat by Vrindavan Das Thakur, what do you hear? When Lord Chaitanya is sitting every day with Srila Gadadhar Pandit and they're discussing and reciting Srimad Bhagavatam, when they come to the 7th canto and they finish the story of Prahlad, what does Lord Chaitanya say? Recite it again. And when they finish that, what does he say? Recite it again and again and again. 100 times. How important is Prahlad then to us as devotees? Actually, the whole 7th canto is an excuse to discuss Prahlad. Actually, Srimad Bhagavat means what? What does Bhagavat mean? It means the Supreme Lord, but it also means the devotee. So Srimad Bhagavatam is actually a scripture glorifying the devotees. And the 7th canto especially is a scripture, is the canto focused on Prahlad Maharaj more than anyone else. That is the focus, that is the priority of that account. So today I wanted to discuss a little more on Prahlad Maharaj so that we can learn from this child. We can learn from Hiranyakashipu of all the bad qualities to help us identify it in our heart and pray to the Lord to take it out, all those qualities. But we can also very importantly, most importantly, learn from Prahlad what are the qualities that he possessed that attracted the Lord to come out in such an unconventional way. If you think about it, you know, the Lord descends when he came to rescue was the elephant Gajendra. He came down on Garuda. There's a wonderful description of how he came, you know. But in the Puranas, the Lord Nrsimhadevas, he comes out in very unconventional ways. In one millennium, it's described he comes out of a vase of flowers. Another one, he just sort of walks through town unannounced. But in our account, according to the Srimad Bhagavat, he comes out of a pillar. Why does he come out of a pillar? Why does he choose there? Because of Prahlad Maharaj's statements. Satyam bidatum nija britya bhashitam. To fulfill the words of his pure devotee. The Bhagavatam says, the Lord chose to appear out of a pillar. It's not that he wasn't there, he is there. It's just like Prahlad is when Hiranyakashipu is challenging Prahlad, is your Lord there? Is he everywhere? Yes, he's everywhere. I can see him everywhere. Prahlad is not just putting on some presentation of an impersonal feature of the Lord being everywhere. He's clearly seeing, just as much as I'm seeing Sankarshan in front of me, right there, Prahlad was seeing Krishna everywhere. He was just clearly seeing Krishna. Is he in the pillar? Yes, I'm seeing him in the pillar. And then smash, and that out comes Lord Nrsimhadevas, simply to fulfill the words, to make the words of his pure devotee true. Such an unconventional appearance. What won't the Lord do for his pure devotee on the level of Prahlad? So yeah, we'll read this, a few sections. I also wanted to read from Brihad Bhagavatamrita, where Lord Shiva also describes the glories of Prahlad. And then, well, if you know the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, the first section where Narada Muni is going from one devotee to another, trying to find the greatest recipient of Krishna's mercy, we find an amazing um, habit of all great devotees, right? That when they're hearing their glories, they're like, oh my God, this is painful. It's so difficult to hear my glories, because I know it's not true. But then what happens after that? It shows how expert they are about dismantling their own glories and rather pointing to the glories of someone else. This is the nature of a pure devotee. So we'll also read, if we have time, how Prahlad does that. He discounts his own glories that Narad Muni is expressing, and he then points to someone else who's greater than him. But first we'll read from the fourth chapter? Yeah, the fourth chapter of the seventh canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, about the qualities of Prahlad Maharaj. So we'll read from text 30. Hiranyakashipu had 4 wonderful, well-qualified sons, of whom the one named Prahlad was the best. Indeed, Prahlad was a reservoir of all transcendental qualities, because he was an unalloyed devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is interesting. I'm sure we have all learned this from Jai Sachinandan Prabhu, Raghunath Bhatta Prabhu in the Vaishnav Sadachar course. The 26 qualities of a devotee. There's so many, right? And those 26 qualities, they are split into 2. What are those 2 called? The Swarup Lakshana and the Tatastha Lakshana. The primary one, which is surrendered to Krishna. Krishnaika Sharana, one who is 10% only surrendered to Krishna, and everything else is secondary. In other words, someone may have all the good qualities of a respectable gentleman, but if he doesn't have the good quality or the one quality of being surrendered to Krishna, what's the use? And same the other way. If one doesn't have any good qualities, but they have that one good quality of being surrendered to Krishna, then that's everything. In time, all the other good qualities will come. So here we find the Bhagavatam is focusing on Prahlad. Of course, he was replete with all qualities, but focusing on the one main quality, is that he was an unalloyed devotee of the personality of Godhead. Text 31 and 32. The qualities of Maharaj Prahlad, the son of Hiranyakashipu, are described herewith. So let's listen very, very carefully, because these are the qualities we want to cultivate. We want to manifest, uncover in our character. He was completely cultured as a qualified Brahmin, having very good character and being determined to understand the absolute truth. He had full control of his senses and mind. Like the super soul, he was kind to every living entity and was the best friend of everyone. To respectable persons, he acted exactly like a menial servant. To the poor, he was like a father. To his equals, he was attached like a sympathetic brother. And he considered his teachers, spiritual masters, and older god brothers to be as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He was completely free from unnatural pride that might have arisen from his good education, riches, beauty, aristocracy, and so on. Text 33. Although Prahlad Maharaj was born in a family of Asuras, he himself was not an Asura, but a great devotee of Lord Vishnu. Unlike the other Asuras, he was never envious of Vaishnavas. He was not agitated when put into danger, and he was neither directly nor indirectly interested in the fruitive activities described in the Vedas. Indeed, he considered everything material to be useless, and therefore he was completely devoid of material desires. He always controlled his senses and life air, and being of steady intelligence and determination, he subdued all lusty desires. O King, Prahlad Maharaj's good qualities are still glorified by learned saints and Vaishnavas. As all good qualities are always found existing in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they also exist forever in his devotee Prahlad Maharaj. Who could list the innumerable transcendental qualities of Prahlad Maharaj? He had unflinching faith in Vasudeva, Lord Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, and unalloyed devotion to him. His attachment to Lord Krishna was natural because of his previous devotional service. Although his good qualities cannot be enumerated, they prove that he was a great soul, a Mahatma. All right, so there's so much more in this chapter as well, but I also want to spend some time reading from the Brihad Bhagavatamrita. So this is Lord Shiva speaking. This is in chapter 3, Prapanchatita, Beyond the Material World. And we'll read from text 79. This is Lord Shiva speaking. Moreover, among those countless devotees, Prahlad stands out as the example of perfection. The Lord himself has described him in this way. Prahlad's good fortune is inconceivable. Commentary. Prahlad is one of the rare Vaishnavas described in the previous verse, who have no trace of material motivation. The Supreme Lord cherishes such pure devotees more than his own self, what to speak of Brahma and other demigods. Furthermore, as the present verse states, Prahlad's surrender is especially complete, conferring on him a devotional position superior to that of pure devotees such as Shesha and Garuda. His good fortune is unique among Vaishnavas, as the Lord has declared to him. Those who follow your example will naturally become my pure devotees. You are the best example of my devotee, and others should follow in your footsteps. So this is what the Lord tells Prahlad in the 10th chapter of the 7th canto. When the Lord tore apart Hiranyakashipu, this is Lord Shiva speaking, all the demigods and the goddess Lakshmi witnessed with our own eyes the incomparable good fortune of Prahlad. Commentary. Lord Shiva, Brahma, and many other demigods and devotees headed by Lakshmi Devi and Garuda witnessed the killing of Hiranyakashipu by Lord Nrsimha. With such substantial first-hand evidence for the Lord's special kindness to Prahlad, no one should think that Prahlad's birth in a family of demons disqualified him from being a Vaishnava. The Lord's appearance for the sake of Prahlad is further described in the 7th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 8. Lord Vishnu several times tried to offer him boons, but Prahlad refused to ask to be liberated. Instead, he chose only pure devotional service. I bow down before him. My dear sage, this is again Lord Shiva, he's speaking to Narada Muni. My dear sage, Bali violated spiritual etiquette by disobeying the order of his spiritual master and failing to be true to his own words. Still, as we know, the Lord agreed to become the guard at Bali's door. Was that simply the fruit of Bali's insignificant charity? The Lord also granted protection to the wicked Bana. Was that the result of my offering the Lord prayers? You'll know these two pastimes of Bali Maharaj and Banasura. So the commentary will describe it a little more. So there's a connection now between these two demons, Bali Maharaj and Banasura too, Prahlad Maharaj. Right? Commentary. Because the personality of Godhead blessed Bali Maharaj by becoming his doorkeeper, someone might suggest that Bali received more mercy than Prahlad. But according to Lord Shiva, this is not true. Rather, Lord Vishnu favored Bali only because Bali was Prahlad's grandson. He even calls his charity insignificant. What was his charity? The entire universe he gave, but he calls it insignificant. Rather, he gave mercy to Bali Maharaj. Why? Because of his familial connection to Prahlad. Fighting for the demons against the demigods, Bali overturned the law of the universe set by Lord Brahma, that the demigods should rule heaven and the demons the subterranean Patala Loka. By invading heaven, usurping the throne of Indra, and awarding the posts of various demigods to demons, Bali violated this natural order. Bali also disobeyed specific instructions from his spiritual master, Shukracharya. By committing the worst possible crime of denying one's spiritual master's order, Bali earned Shukracharya's curse. After being cursed for agreeing to give Lord Vamana what he had asked, Bali could not even provide the charity he had offered. Vamanadev covered the entire universe with only 2 steps, and no land remained on which he could place his third. Thus Bali's elegant words promising charity had become an empty promise. It seems that Bali did not give away anything very important, just 3 insignificant material worlds, and then his own body. Vamanadev's becoming Bali's doorkeeper could not have been the result of just this meager charity, Lord Shiva proposes. The Lord must have reciprocated with Bali in this way because Bali's grandfather Prahlad was a great soul and dear devotee of Vishnu. Bali did not deserve this benediction because he was a violator of the universal order, a transgressor of his guru's order, and a breaker of promises. The only feasible explanation for Bali's good fortune is the intimate exchange of prema bhakti between Prahlad Maharaj and his worshipable Lord. Another example given here, that of Banasura, a much more wicked person. Other than the Lord's compassion for Prahlad, there can be no reason for Bana's salvation. Not even Lord Shiva's intercession on Bana's behalf could have saved Banasura's life when Lord Krishna was about to kill him. Nor could Bana have achieved the perfection of having all but 4 of his arms removed. Nor would Lord Krishna have made Bana Lord Shiva's eternal associate. It was by Prahlad's grace that his grandson and great-grandson Bana it was by Prahlad's grace that his grandson Bali and great-grandson Bana were dealt with favorably by the Lord. The only reason the Lord pardoned them for their offenses and elevated them was to please Prahlad Maharaj. In both cases, the Lord acted out of affection for Prahlad, his most beloved devotee. But what more can I say in the presence of Gauri, the close friend of Goddess Lakshmi? Anyway, this is now going into a different area, why Lord Shiva didn't want to speak more about this in the presence of his wife, who was a close friend of Lakshmi Devi. Because Lakshmi Devi also has a position of being such a great recipient of the Lord's mercy. Now to suddenly state in the presence of her close friend that someone is greater than her could be a bit problematic for Lord Shiva. So he's very cautious in that regard. Anyway, we'll go on. So now he's telling Narada Muni, go quickly to Sutala. That's where he's going to find Prahlad. Offer Prahlad your countless blessings. Embrace him, and tell him I embrace him again and again. Unfortunately, that best of saintly persons will not tolerate our bowing down to him or praising him. If you want to avoid getting into trouble, do not neglect this fact. Mm. Prahlad, the best of Vaishnavas, was in a secluded place, absorbed in loving meditation on the Supreme Lord's lotus feet. Seeing the Brahman Narada approaching from a distance, Prahlad quickly stood up and then offered prostrate obeisances as Narada Muni came close by. So now there's an interesting point of information here. I'm sure you all know. But Narada Muni is so enthusiastic to meet Prahlad, to glorify Prahlad, to extol him as being the recipient of the Lord's greatest mercy. But who is Narada Muni in relation to Prahlad? His own spiritual master. It's his spiritual master. And he's so eager to go and glorify his own devotee. And this is not out of the ordinary. Now, it may be seen sort of outside of normal external etiquette. But just as I was hearing this some time ago and again the other day, when His Holiness Indradyumna Swami was starting the service of accepting disciples, he asked His Holiness Tamakrishna Maharaj for advice on being a spiritual master. What are some of the difficult things one has to deal with? And Tamakrishna Maharaj said that one of the most difficult things in serving as a spiritual master is that sometimes you will have to initiate someone, a devotee, who is more advanced than you. He had that experience, he says. And Maharaj was also saying that I also have that experience, that when I see some of my disciples, they are practicing, they are advancing so wonderfully, I'm just in awe, because it couldn't have been me. They are definitely more advanced than me. You know, he genuinely feels that way. So here you see such a non-envious heart of the spiritual master, that he's so excited to see his disciple, so genuinely excited to see the wonderful development in his disciple. With some effort, Prahlad induced Narada Muni to accept a seat and then began, like others before, to worship him in accordance with standard rules. But Narada, feeling great reverence for Prahlad, refused the worship. He shed tears of joy and tried to embrace Prahlad. Then he spoke as follows. Sri Narada said, "Now, after so long, I have finally seen you, the true recipient of Krishna's full mercy. Now my efforts have borne fruit. From your very childhood, you have been endowed with pure devotion for Krishna. Such spontaneous love has never been seen anywhere before. By virtue of that pure devotion, you overcame terrible obstacles, the thousands of outrages your father committed against you, and by your influence, all the demons became Vaishnavas. While immersed in meditation on Krishna, you seemed to forget your own existence. Like a madman, you danced and sang and called out loudly, your body trembling. In this way, you spread devotional service unto Lord Vishnu, delivering all the worlds from the cycle of material life and filling them with joy. When Lord Krishna appeared on the shore of the ocean, he placed you on his lap and caressed you like a mother. Thus he honored you, ignoring Brahma, Shiva, and the other demigods, offering prayers, and even ignoring the goddess Padma. Brahma, terrified, begged you to approach Sri Nrsimha, and when you fell at the Lord's divine lotus feet, the Lord stood up and raised you from the ground. He put his lotus hand upon your head and began to lick your entire body. When Lord Hari, with most attractive and clever enticements, tried to offer you the supreme abode, you showed no interest in liberation, which is prayed for by Brahma and by everyone else. Rather, you asked only devotion to the Lord, birth after birth. Responding to your Lord's love, you agreed to assume your father's throne. And as you told Lord Nrsimha in your prayers, by doing this, you wish to help deliver all people. You are still on that royal seat, fixed in meditation on Lord Nrsimha. You once went to the Naimisha forest to have darshan of Narayan, who is known as the Lord in yellow dress. While on the road, you satisfied the Lord in combat, and he told you, "Yes, I am always conquered by you." So once when Prahlad was an adult ruling the universe, this is what happened. He actually fought with Lord Narayan. It was, of course, by the desire of the Lord. Having said this, Narada, the ocean of ecstasies in devotion to Lord Hari, began to dance. That intimate servant of the Lord shouted, "Conquered by us, conquered by us." Commentary. The words "conquered by us" imply that Narada claimed victory not just for himself and Prahlad, but for all the devotees of Lord Narayan. O best of the Vaishnavas, why should I say that Lord Mukunda has been conquered only by you? Your grandson Bali, chief of the Daityas, also conquered him. By your grace, Bali keeps the Lord as a doorman. From now on, I intend to stay here permanently with you. By your power, I shall certainly be able to overcome the curses I received from Daksha and others. So from this point onwards, Prahlad refutes all the praises of Narada Muni, his spiritual master. But I think we'll stop here, and I highly recommend that you all try to read of the expertise in which Prahlad refutes all the praises. It's so, it's hard to deny, but even though he's telling the truth, but this is Prahlad's expertise, that when a devotee is genuinely humble, you get humility and you get genuine humility. Some people are very expert at the external presentation of humility, and it's nice. It's actually very good. Ultimately, it does help. Just like once, I think it was Garga Muni Prabhu, in the early days, he very honestly expressed to Prabhupada that, "Do I have to bow down to you? I really don't feel like it." I don't feel like it. And how we are in this modern age, all about authenticity. I love that word. Be your authentic self. If you don't feel it, don't do it. Just be who you are. That's not supported in our culture, like in terms of humility. Yes, we must be authentic, but some things are authentic in us, but they're so covered that what we are showing now is our false self. So bowing down is important. Like you come before Prabhupada, come before the deity, come before the devotees. Even if you don't feel like it, bow down, Prabhupada said. And in time, slowly that mood will manifest naturally. So, yes, we may externally have humility, but Prahlad is showing genuine humility. From that genuine humility arises an expertise that can easily deflect any praise that comes to him. Any praise that comes to him. And we'll see as you read in the next section of this Brihad Bhagavatamrita how expertly he deflects, he refutes all the praises that his spiritual master Narad Muni is offering to him. So we'll stop here. Are there any comments or questions anyone has? But thank you for coming, and we look forward to a wonderful day of purifying our hearts in each other's association by remembering the qualities of Prahlad Maharaj, the mercy of Lord Nrsimhadev, the pastimes that will be shared today. Okay. Hare Krishna. There are accounts of Prahlad's previous life, because he took birth into this. But as of now, I can't recall the details of it. I'm not so conversant with that history. I remember reading it many, many years ago, and it may have had something to do with. Did it have something to do with Ekadashi? Something to do with Ekadashi, if I can remember something he did, but I can't remember the details. I do know, though, I read something recently about how Hiranyakashipu was transcendently tricked into performing the Garbhadan Samskar, whereby Prahlad was conceived. It's quite an interesting story. That he was explaining, he came back from his austerities on the Mandara mountain, where he was trying to propitiate Lord Brahma by this one mantra focused on Lord Brahma, Om Brahmane Namaha, something like that. So as he was trying to chant that mantra, there were some birds on the side chanting Om Namo Narayanaya. They kept, and he was like getting irritated. He's chanting this while trying to meditate, and then these birds were chanting Om Namo Narayana, Om Namo Narayana. So he was getting a little frustrated, but anyway, he focused on his meditation as best as possible. So when he returned, he was relating this whole experience to his wife Kayadu. And of course, they wanted to have a child, they were trying to conceive. So in the midst of that conception, he's explaining to Kayadu that this is what I was trying to chant, Om Brahmane Namaha, and these birds kept saying Om Namo Narayanaya, Om Namo Narayanaya. So as he's chanting Om Namo Narayanaya, Prahlad was conceived at that time. So this is why Garbhadan Samskar is so important. The process of attracting a high-class living entity, a devotee soul, into the womb of the mother. So Hiranyakashipu inadvertently did that by remembering what he was being irritated by, the holy names of Lord Narayan. So chanting the holy names of Lord Narayan, the soul entered into Kayadu's womb. So that's all that I know of. But there is definitely an elaborate history about who Prahlad was and how he became so eligible to receive Lord Nrsimhadev's mercy. Jai. Hare Krishna. Shri Prahlad Maharaj ki. Shri Nrsimhadev Bhagavan ki. Gaur Premanande. Hare Hare Bol.